Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Welcome to the beginning of October 1982. We were last checking out the arcade machine. Let's see what our next release is. Looks like we're still seeing the latest release on our Atari home computer, and this is Armor Assault. Let's check it out. Starting with the box. Oh, another one that's by Epix. Well, technically it's Automated Simulations, and they just used the moniker Epix for a while, and it's going to be official soon, but I don't think it's official yet. But a great box for all the ones we've seen by this company. That is fantastic. This one marks our 30th game by Automated Simulations here on the show. It's for your Atari 400 or 800. You only need to expand it to 40K, and you better have a joystick. Man, it is rocking, though, war style. Let's flip it over in the back. Designed by John Weber. Way to go, John. Look at all the info it's got. It's tactical, wargaming. Well, technically not wargaming. You're only controlling a few units, not a giant fleet of units. We got color graphics, 12 different scenarios, simultaneous movement, design your own scenarios, and you can design your own maps and characters. There's total customization for this one. Really, really cool. Inside contains a detailed battle manual, game program, map creation, and data files for your computer. What else do we have for Armor Assault? I am not familiar with this one. This one is only found, of all the games on all home computers, only here. It is only on the Atari. That is it. You can't find this anywhere else. Here's one of the ads you would have seen in magazines for the time with Oil Barons and Invasion Orion. And then down there has the spiel about a World War III. Is that what we're going to implement in Armor Assault? Something like that? There's our 5 1/4 floppy disk. We're going to pop into our Atari. This game marks our 342nd game we played on the Atari home computer. 342 games right here on Chronologically Gaming. That is a lot of games for your Atari home computer. We are going to need the manual to figure out Armor Assault because it's as tactical as they come. Very, very nice artwork on the manual. Tanks, from the first ones crawling across European battlefields in World War I to those zipping at 60 miles an hour on Army test grounds, have held a unique place in modern warfare. Before World War II, armor was traditionally used for... They're giving us a history spoof on what tanks are like because we're going to be controlling tanks in the game. But it's not a tank-style game. It's all strategy. The new Armored Age units, their weapons and tactics are simulated in Armor Assault. High-resolution 1- or 2-player game, computer war game. As a NATO tank commander, you'll engage an enemy on all possible fronts and will fight in the wooded hills of Europe, in the arid expanses of the Middle East, and the battle ranges from holding actions and diversionary maneuvers to ranging all-or-nothing melee. So lots of options here because there's so much you can do to modify the game. You can just start a normal game, but you can modify the map and you can modify the units to make all the changes you want. That's what's cool about this game, the customization. So it's a lot of the manual. I mean, look at this, 39 pages. We're not going to go through the entire manual, but there is much here because it's all breaking down how to design it yourself. You select the scenario you want to first. If you're playing solitaire, which I would recommend you don't. I know we are here on Chronologically Gaming because we don't have a guest, but you got to play with another person. That's the best experience for this game. You answer all the prompts, and it guides you through here in the manual, and we'll be doing that when we boot the game up. You select what map you want and which type of units you want. We're going to go with the stock units that came with the system. And then after that, you go through the plotting phase. You answer the preliminary prompts, and then the map will be drawn on the screen. The game actually begins here. First is mines are placed if you called for mines or wanted to lay mines. Next, your turns are played. So simultaneously, you and your second player will be determining which moves you want to do. But you're just telling the tanks what to do, and then you execute together. So it's still a turn-based game because you're going one at a time. But during the plotting phase, you're plotting at the same time. But nothing's really executed. So nothing happens yet until you decide to put it through. That's true, Chip, too. There's not a whole lot of lore. We more had history for this manual. All right, so we're not going to be plotting mines for the demonstration I'll be showing, but for units, we will be doing that. We're either going to be a NATO or the, I think we're Russians, because it's supposed to be during the Cold War is when this takes place. Yeah, it's NATO versus the Russians. So whenever it's your turn, use your joystick to determine your movements. And over here on the right side explains all the different things that happen because you're going to have to program them in using the joystick, you know, where you want your tanks to turn and move. It also shows you the different movement cost over on the far left side as you move your tanks over terrain. And then when it's time to fire, you have to push a certain number of buttons, the red button on your Atari VCS joystick, to know where it's going to fire. So right over here above my head shows you the direction of the fire and how many button pushes. So if you want to fire in a direction 45 degrees right facing, you have to hit the button 6 times. And that's programmed in, and then it'll execute whenever it begins the beginning. That's right. I know, it's predicting what might happen later. We've already seen a few World War III scenarios, still here in, I'm not going to say the current year, but we haven't seen World War III yet. Nothing's happened yet. And then you go into the execution phase where you get to just watch them execute everything. And that's where it can be a little tedious, because this one requires calculation, and it takes a while for them to calculate everything. So they're breaking down the execution phase, and then also what your damage is going to do. And then it has all the strategy and tactics here. But then the next section goes through how to modify the game, which we won't be going through. There is the customization of changing the maps up too. So cool. Let's pop in and play some Armor Assault. This is by John Weber, published by Automated Simulations at sometime in the beginning of October 1982. All right, so first thing is we're just going to play the game. I'm going to hit G. It's going to load the program up. I am not going to be waiting for everything because there is a lot of time spent to wait for the game to load. And if you spent the time, you and your friend that's playing this in 1982, if you spent the time to design your own map and units, it would be even longer for you to actually start the game up. So we're going to fast forward through. There's John Weber. And now it's going to ask us, do we want the NATO side to be able to place mines? I'm going to say no. Do we want the Russian side to place mines? I'm going to say no. And if you want to say solitaire play, I'm going to have to say yes this time. You want small dots in the middle of the clear squares. I'm going to say yes, so you can see that. Also, notice we have artifacting turned on because it helps show a little bit more color while we play the game. Do you want arrows showing direction? We're going to say yes. And then now we place the disc with the unit set in the drive and push the red button on our joystick. Now, we're going to use the stock unit set. So I'm going to push the red button on our joystick, fire to continue. And then it's going to go through different character sets. So this one's the desert one. I'm just going to say yes to load this one. But if you hit N, you'd scroll through different ones that you'd saved. So I'm just going to say yes, load that set. And then we wait for it to load. And now it's going to ask for the map set. I'm going to push our red button. So this is us using what came with the game. We're not designing our own maps. So I'm going to use the desert map and then hit yes to load that map in. And here it is. Ooh. Originally, it looks all black and white, but on the displays at the time, you would have this artifacting that's familiar with the Atari home computers, and that's where you get this slight color variations on the screen, which is kind of cool. So it's drawing the map in for us, and this is one you can create yourself if you wanted to spend the time to do that. I haven't dabbled in that myself. That's a whole nother realm. I know we did a little bit of designing our own in the arcade machine last episode. There's a few games that do that already, but games like this, the tactical strategy games, oh man, it's a lot of time spent, especially if you wanted to, it'd be really, really cool, but it is time consuming. So it's still loading us in. The hardest thing about this one, which makes it the roughest bad point of the game, is how long everything takes. It takes time to load units. It takes time to load the map. Okay, so we're in, and now we make the decisions for every single tank. I'm on the left side, I'm NATO, and on the right side are the Russians. And now you decide what units you want to do, and what you do is, after you set their commands, you push the start button on your computer. And I'm setting every single unit that I have on what commands I want them to do. And then whenever I finish my commands, I think that's all of my tanks. Now you can see it switches to the Russians. Now the Russians are making their turn and all of their moves. So this is all based on your joystick movement and how many button presses you do. It's a lot. It's pretty complicated because you have to follow the manual, but just imagine you're controlling and telling all the units what to do with just the joystick. Every other game we've seen that's done this so far is all keyboard. You put on all the commands on your keyboard, and you would also have to do hot seat. So this time you can do it with a friend, and you both have Atari joysticks. You would also have to memorize all the commands unless you have the manual out. But here, playing a single player mode, look how long this is taking. So this is real time. I'm not doing fast forward. We are waiting for the Russian computer to make their turns. It's us versus the Russians. And we're still waiting. I mean, how long does it take you to do this turn? Or this tank? He's still taking his time. Thanks, Jeff Quest. It does, right? I know, right? We should be playing Donkey Kong right now. That has to be the remedy while you're waiting for all these games to load. Or maybe you have a full tabletop spread at your house in 1982, and that's what you're doing while you're waiting for the game to go. We're still waiting. I'm still waiting for the Russians to do their last tank movement. You can see it flashing down the bottom. That's the computer thinking, which is why this is a much better enjoyable game if you're going to play with 2 people. And maybe the makers of the game wanted you to play the latest on console games. Oh my gosh, they got one more unit. Okay, I can't wait any longer. I'm fast forwarding. Okay, there you go. So now we are in. The units have their turns, and now we're in the execution phase. So now the units are going to move, do their firing, whatever you commanded them to do, but they're going to all work at once. Now, there's nothing you do here except watch. And when you think about, yeah, there we go. We got one tank. Russians just fired upon us. But all this happens at the same time, so it's kind of simultaneous, kind of turn-based. I'm still calling it turn-based because, you know, it doesn't happen in real time like Cytron Masters. But you can see how this plays out. This is a very rudimentary way of showing it. You would spend a lot more time if it was 1982 getting used to the controls, and it'd be a lot more fun with 2 people. That's right, maybe it'll be ready. But you can see what it's doing. It's executing everything, all the commands at once. It just takes a very long time to do so. All right, so that's all I'm going to show for Armor Assault. Now, this is a game you would need to dive your teeth into and play a lot to really get used to it. But because this is one of the very first games that you and a friend can control everything before it's executed in the execution phase, I'm actually going to go 3.5 stars and say it's an above average title. It's also only available here on the Atari home computer. If you were a strategy enthusiast and you didn't want to play a massive war game but wanted to control individual units, you would find this pretty enjoyable. 3 from the Russian judge. I love it. 2007 Honda Accord sedan V6. And yeah, Curtis is with me with 3.5 as well. Really, really cool. Yeah, and that's true. If you're into this kind of game, it would be a higher score. The 3.5 is because if you're playing with 2 people, by the way. All right, let's see what our next release is. We're still on the Atari home computer. This is Arrow of Death Part 2. Let's check it out, starting with the box. Oh, and from Channel 8 Software. Now, we've already seen this box before. This is the brought to us by Brian Howarth. And it's, if you look at the bottom right, the Mysterious Adventure series. This is number 3. And the Mysterious Adventure series is just the series that Brian Howarth started. But Arrow of Death Part 2, we've already seen. Brian Howarth's already given us games like Mission Impossible and The Time Machine, and of course this series. And the TRS-80 version of Arrow of Death Part 1 was in January 1982, and then the VIC-20 version was in August 1982, but on the VIC-20, you couldn't even play the Part 2, so this version, or part of Arrow of Death, you couldn't get on VIC-20, just Part 1. We've already played Part 2 on the TRS-80, here is Part 2 on the Apple. We flip it over the back, there it is. You now have the means to destroy your enemy, but how far from home and land is strange to you? Can you cope with the deadly perils and approach you, and the strength to see your mission through to the final conflict? I don't know. Can we? You see Adventure International UK published that box. And then I don't think we have anything else for the front of the box. I don't know what kind of helmet we're wearing. In magazines for the time, you would have seen this. For the 16K Atari. Oh, along with Golden Baton, which was the first one in the Mysterious Adventure series. Too cool. Oh, wait, I think we had another one. Besides that, we also had... Yeah, there we go, the catalog showing all of the Mysterious Adventure series. Golden Baton, Arrow of Death Part 1, and Arrow of Death Part 2. Sweet. Let's pop in and play some Arrow of Death Part 2 by Brian Howarth, published by Channel 8 Software at the beginning of October 1982. So we've already played this text adventure, so I'm going to go through pretty quickly. At least on the TRS-80 we played it. Let's see what it's like. Way to go, Brian. All right, so do you want color? Oh, yes. We have paid the big bucks for the color display. Do we want to resume a save game? We do not. When I tried to load a save game on here, you needed a cassette, and it was pretty cumbersome. All right, so here we go. We're starting off in the marsh. Let's go ahead and head east. I love how it begins. There's no joy in reality. I need to end the show with that one time. So I'm now in a barren plain. Let's go ahead and head east again. Still in a barren plain. This is one of those text adventure games that you just begin in a barren area. All right, let's head north. We're by a narrow gorge. Let's go north. And then we have some things we can see. There's just water across the gorge. Notice that this is split in half because this is using the same game engine that Scott Adams did for the Scott Adams Adventure games. All right, so let's drop our arrowhead. And let's drop this, all the things from the last Part 1. Feather, branch, We'll drop all those. Yeah, and then we'll head south. We're at a narrow gorge now, and let's go ahead and head south again. Back in the barren plain, and let's head west. Still in a barren plain. Man, you'd have to map this whole thing out. And then head north. We now see a weird shrub. There's shrubbery here? All right, I'll get that. Get that shrub. Yes. But one that looks nice. All right, after we get the shrub, let's head south. And then south again. And right here, just because I'm following the walkthrough, let's dig. Oh, man, we found something. Imagine how many times you have to dig in the sand. Yes, we need to get the shrub on fire too, right? All right, so after we get let's get that flint that we found in the ground. The flintstone. Okay, got the flintstone, and let's head north and head west. We're now back where we were at the very beginning by the marsh. Let's head north now. We're on a plateau. Head north again. We're on a chasm. What should we do? Jump! We landed on a rope bridge, or at least that's what we can see now. Okay, let's go ahead and go bridge. Something flew by and dropped something. Now, this is strange. It's telling us information down here, but then we also have information to read up there, so I'm having to read in two different places. All right, so after we get on the bridge, let's go ahead and head north. We have some straggly weed, and if you remember from the first one, we got to get that weed, man. We got it, and we've already tried to smoke the weed. It will not work. Sorry. All right, so after that, let's go ahead and head south. Back on the bridge. And go south again. Now we're on the ledge. And head down the ledge. We can see an iron helmet. Get the helmet. We'll prepare for battle. Oh, I gotta make sure I spell it right. Get helmet. Got it. All right, now after we get the helmet, let's wear it. Wearing said helmet. And then let's go ahead and go to the crevice. We're there. In a cave. And we can see an oil lamp. Get lamp. Now it feels like we're playing Zork. So after we get the lamp, that's where I'm going to stop this version of Arrow of Death Part 2. I still say, like with when we played on the TRS-80, this is a fairly average game, 3 stars for the time of everything you could play on a home computer. But that's not all. Arrow of Death was also ported for IBM computers. Let's check it out. The box should look fairly the same. All they did is slap on a sticker that says, oh, it looks like this one has just data jet loading. And that's it. That's all we have for artwork. We do have the manual, which is kind of cool. Not that this picture is very cool. I have no idea what this is in the game, but it does give you a little synopsis of the game. Having successfully completed part 1 of Arrow of Death, you're now in possession of the component parts of an arrow. You'll need the arrow to destroy Zurdun the Evil, the source of the ill which has befallen your homelands. Now we're getting into the lore. You now find yourself on the fringe of Desolation Marsh with no clear idea about what to do next, which is pretty much every text adventure game we play here on the show. Your main objective is to seek out the only man who's able to create a magical arrow from the parts you now possess. This man is Arnid, the Royal Fletcher. He's been kidnapped by the minions of Zurdun the Evil, who have somehow learned of your intent. You must now set off in search of Arnid the Fletcher. Danger lurks at every step, and your only hope of survival in this quest is to rely on wits and cunning. Your mission must not fail. And that's all we have for the manual. But now I'm psyched. Let's go. Let's pop in and play Arrow of Death Part 2 for IBM PC. Who's with me? We have to destroy Zurdun the Evil. That's what he was called. We almost had a commercial break there. All right, so we can start or restore the game. I actually want to restore where we left off because I don't want to begin at the beginning. I want to load save 1. We're there. Okay, so we already picked up our lamp. And just to make sure, I can do INV, I believe. Oh, do I have to type inventory? Oh, you don't even know inventory? Okay, well, just trust me. We picked up the lamp, and we're back exactly where we left off. All right, let's head north. We're now on the ledge, and it tells us where we can go. We're back in the crevice. All right, so let's go up, back where we were before, and then let's go across the bridge. You don't know how to go bridge? What do you mean you don't know how to go bridge? On bridge? By the way, this view that we're seeing is slightly more modern than what you would have played on IBM PC. So the resolution here, I know you might be blown away. Wow, it's 1982. Check out the resolution of that text. This is just slightly ahead of, this is more like 1983 is what we're looking at, just so you know. That's why the text looks so crisp. All right, we'll head back down where you went to, and then go crevice. Wait, you don't know how to go crevice? Climb crevice? Interesting. The IBM version doesn't understand Go. what are they going to look for then if they don't understand go? If I want to go door, that's what we've been doing since the beginning of time. If I want to go bridge, that's just what you do. Oh, it is interesting. Oh, maybe that's it. Cross bridge. Okay, let's head back up where we were before, and then cross bridge. I don't know how to cross. Well, you know what? I don't know how to play the game then. There we go. We'll cut off the side. Does that mean the left side was cut off because maybe it was cutting off the left side? Well, there we go. A quick taste of Arrow of Death Part 2 on IBM PCs. Still fairly average. It is using the original text parser, two-word text parser, and that design that was done by Scott Adams originally. But now it's in the United Kingdom. So this series is, I think we're going to see a few more of Part 2 or Arrow of Death on different computers. But this is the two that we've seen so far. All right, so after a couple text adventure games, let's see where we're going now after this commercial break.
Astrocade, the professional video game system that gives you 4-player
Ooh,
capability,
it's professional.
3 built-in games.
It's better than the other consoles out there.
And these new cartridges, Creative Crayon. Even the young can make beautiful pictures. The Incredible Wizard has
There we go, the Incredible Wizard, which we've seen on the Astrocade, and it is top-tier console gaming. Does anyone know who this guy is as a spokesperson for other consoles? We've seen other spokespeople we know, like Dick Cavett for Apple or Leonard Nimoy for the Odyssey 2, but I have no idea who that guy is. If anyone does, drop me a line. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Artillery Duel for the Astrocade, now known as the Astrocade Videocade. I know it says Bally up there. That's who originally owned this console. Let's check it out. Starting with the box. Yes, the Astrocade Videocade cartridge. Take your military position, set your cannon, and fire at the opposition. You must allow for elevation and wind to properly aim your piece. Sound effects and video take up a cosmic kind of realism. Up to 4 players? No way. 4-player? How do you play 4-player artillery? I'd like to see that. So this marks our 30th game on the Astrocade. Only 30 games up to this point on this home console. The little home console that couldn't. And what else do we have besides the box? And there it is. There's some screenshots of zoomed in what the Bally Astrocade looks like. You have lots of numbers, but they're only on the system itself. The controller is very nice. It has a trigger and an analog at the top. Allows you to twist back and forth. Cart number 5005, or just the designation for it, with an example of a screenshot. Let's see how to play some Artillery Duel. Excellent war artwork there, and actually shows the same user interface from the game at the top, with an example of the screenshot too. Square off for an exciting duel of skill and cunning as you plan and carry out the destruction of your opponent. Check the wind, make critical adjustments for barrel angle and powder charge, and fire. The final explosion leaves no doubt as to the winner. Random terrains ensure that every game is different. A fantastic party game that's absolutely addictive for 2 players or teams. So that's what they meant. It's not actually 2 controllers. It does have 4, but you only need 2 for this one. There's our loading instructions, and then to play with 2 players, you set up... Okay, it's how to set the monitor, thanks. Full controls and realistic sounds puts you right into the action. This is an artillery style game. We've seen plenty of them here on the show. This one marks our 16th artillery game we've seen. But I mean, if you wanted to count mainframe games, there's 30 easily artillery games out there. On home consoles, though, artillery is a little far and few between, and we'll get into that a little later. So we choose Artillery Duel from the main game. It's going to draw the terrain, and then the control panel appears at the top, showing the different buttons you need. This one actually has a lot of text to describe something very simple. So when we get into the game, it works great with the joystick. You choose the different rank you want for each person. Most notable is the size of the destruction pattern made by the impact of your hit. So if you make it easy, you're going to make a bigger explosion, but if you make it hard, you'll make smaller explosions. Private has the largest pattern, and Private has the rank of the best penetration through the terrain without hitting anything. So that means you can do a little bit of handicap for a younger sibling if you play. Wind can change up to 5 miles an hour for the general rank. Oh, and also it affects your wind, which is kind of nice. So even if you're playing one against the other, you can change the difficulty between the two. The gun may still fire even if it's damaged. It takes 50% damage to destroy a gun and its ammunition. So it means I get several hits to make it be destroyed. And then they break down the points and then have some strategies for winning here in the manual. And if you want to play it again, just wait for another game to start. It'll happen automatically. This one, you have to play with another person. which harkens back to the old console games where you had to have 2 people. If you didn't have 2, then you're out of luck. And that's the same here. Let's pop in and play some Artillery Duel. This is by John Perkins of Perkins Engineering, published by Astrocade in the beginning of October 1982. So here we go. We can use this all on the joystick. I'm going to go, actually first, I forgot, you have to have 2 joysticks, so I got to plug one in. We don't have a second joystick in there. All right, now we're ready. We have our second joystick so we can play Artillery Duel, and now, using the joystick, you just select Game Mode 1, and then fire the trigger, and now you pick what rank you want the player 1 to play as. Let's go with Private, Easy rank, and just so you can see the difference, let's have player 2 play as General, harder difficulty. So it's an artillery variant that allows 2 different modes of play, which is kind of cool. I love it. Yes, people were the AI back in the 70s. Nice. Here's the sound. We got our soldiers marching in. What a way to present the game. This is still an artillery game, but look at this. We got animation. Look at that. They're coming over the hill. Whoa, too cool. Oh, nice. And then they take their positions, and then player 2 comes in. It's kind of a long opening, but you got to admit, right now, that's pretty impressive. Thinking of all the other artillery games, none of them have looked like this or were presented like this. Isn't that so cool? All right, it is artillery, 1 person at a time. We start on the left side. On player 1, this is all controlled with the joystick. So notice the interface. I can select what barrel I want or how powerful, and then, where I want the barrel to go. So check it out. You can watch the barrel move real time down the bottom. Let's fire a little bit higher, and let's try powder, yes, 7. Look over on the far right. That shows us our wind and what directions it's going. And it even has a small TV cam with static. That's so cool, showing the other player. All right, let's fire and see what happens. It's going straight up. Come on. The wind was blowing a little bit. Looks like it was too far. Listen to the sound effects. Wow. Can I just say it's the best looking artillery game we've ever seen? All right, here we go. The wind is down to 0 on the right side. So here's player 2, which means I got to control their angle of gun. I don't think I can make it past the green. All right, and let's just crank this sucker to 7.5 and go. Oh, it did it. Went over the top. Let's see how far it goes. This is the cool part of artillery games, the anticipation. Oh my gosh, that's so close. And the impact was a little smaller for the general level of play. It was the more difficult one. Okay, so let's do it again. I need to go a little more powder, I think, is all we need on player 1. So fun. Okay, let's try 7.6. Ready, set, go. That's awesome. So for home gaming in general, or console gaming in general, this is really cool. Artillery, this is technically not the first artillery game. Human Cannonball came out on the Atari VCS in 1978. So that was the first kind of artillery-style game for a home console. But this one is the second, but this one's true artillery. We're not shooting anybody out of cannons here. All right, so all we got to do is give me a little bit of power. How about 7.6? Go. Come on. Oh, I didn't check the wind. Did the wind change? I should have looked before I blasted, because General's got to... Oh, that might be it. Get him. Yes. Oh, look at it. Blew the turret off. Does it still let me fire? 12% damage. Okay, so whenever it's your turn, it displays it up there. Wow. Very, very well done. Okay, let's go again. Just a little bit more. I bet it'll be right there. Ready? Come on, let's get him. So the only downside is you can't play this if you don't have... Oh, it looks like the wind changed. Darn. If you don't have another player with you. So you can't play against the computer. You have to gather around and play a party game like they described it. I know, and I thought it was Scorched Earth too, KC Club Kirby, but we haven't even seen Scorched Earth yet. We're that ancient in video games. Scorched Earth doesn't exist yet. Okay, here we go. Let's do 7.6 and do it again. Fire again. Let's see if it does the same spot. I didn't check the wind. I always forget that part. Because the wind's supposed to change every single time. Yeah, it did. We got a little short, right? Look at that. So close, though. It's awesome. I know, the presentation is really, really nice. And there's not a lot of competition for artillery variants or strategy variants like this. This is awesome. All right, so let's go 7 point. Okay, we got more wind coming at us. Let's do 7.9 and go. Hopefully the wind won't blow it too far. I could also change the barrel to go a little lower. Oh, that might go it. Does it go through the grass? That's still hard to tell. I think the grass might be part of the terrain, which is a nice touch. Okay, so winds change to 7. Okay, that means we should be good if it went that far. Let's see if it just fired that one off. Nice. Yeah, the interface is also more advanced than other games we played on home consoles. Oh, that's it. And now it's going to give us a status of the damage we have for player 1, 36% damage. So it's also better because you're not going to blow up instantly. When we played other artillery games, if you make the shot, then they're just gone. That's awesome. So it is random terrain like most artillery games, and there's only one other game on any home console, which is Human Cannonball on the Atari VCS, that this one would compete with. I gotta say, I'm impressed. For a home console game, this is excellent. Very, very nice. I'm looking over the chat. I already see 4 stars for sure, and then 4.5 that love artillery. Mainly seeing 4.5 as well. I'm actually seeing some people out there saying this is one of the best games on a home console. Are you saying that this is one of those games that's going to compete with the games on the ColecoVision that's available right now? Or some of the ones we've seen on the Intellivision? I wouldn't be that generous. I would say this is a very, very well done game, and the presentation is really, really good, but I wouldn't call this one of the best games ever because you have to have 2 people to play. But I still call this excellent. 4 stars for all the games you could play right now on any home console. But for the Astrocade, this would be an easy, this would be 4.5 or 5 for sure, because Wizard of War is really, really good as well. But Artillery Duel, I'm pleasantly surprised at how good this is. That's a good point. There is no artillery on ColecoVision. If you want to play a true artillery strategy game, though, this one's it. And if you think of all the games that you would want to play, are there artillery fans out there that would dig this? So cool. I love it. Well, that's where we got to put our video game playing on pause and play another day. Maybe we'll find something else or unearth something that we've never heard of before, like we did tonight. Next time on Chronologically Gaming, we're going to check out the fall issue of the Atari Connection and possibly get to a new release on our Intellivision. That's it for today, and like I always say, video games will never fade away. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are Perpetually Retro, and we will catch you next time.